So I can spoil the movie 3 from Hell for you with one sentence that is not in and of itself an actual spoiler. Ready? It's The Devil's Rejects. It's literally The Devil's Rejects. In terms of like side characters and atmosphere and location, it's different from The Devil's Rejects, but in terms of like the structure of the plot, it is literally an exact retread of The Devil's Rejects. In the beginning of The Devil's Rejects, the House of a Thousand Corpses is being raided by the police, and oh shit, they gotta make a break for it, so they do. Okay, well, in 3 from Hell, they're in jail, and there's a jailbreak, and they gotta get out. Then they run into, an unfortunate group of people who they spend the first half of the movie terrorizing, torturing, and killing. Happened in The Devil's Rejects, happened in 3 from Hell. Then, road trip. It's time to get to know our characters. It's time to add a little bit of levity to this horror show where we actually start to almost kind of bond with them or feel like, hey, maybe there are, but no, this guy's a twisted bastard. What's wrong with me? Literally exactly what happens in both films. And in The Devil's Rejects, it was actually meaningful because it really did kind of screw with your morals. But in 3 from Hell, it's sort of like they're screwing with my morals again. Somehow just, I don't know, minimizes the effect. And then, final chapter, final act, if you will, of the movie, our heroic evildoers, our Butch Cassidys, our Heisenbergs, our Jesse Pinkmans, find themselves in a situation where they have become the prey or are in danger, and we almost are sort of grappling with ourselves, like, do we want them to survive? I mean, they really do deserve to die, but don't we kind of like feel something for that? I don't know. I'm effed with at this point. Literally, and I'm not joking. Everything that I just mentioned, like in that order, happens in both movies. And I have to admit that's kind of a bummer, man. Now, to be fair, all right, this movie is not nearly as bad as people are saying it is. It's actually kind of a return to form. And it was kind of cool seeing some of our old favorites again. Otis Driftwood, Baby Firefly, even Captain Spaulding. He's really only reduced to a cameo, but unfortunately Sid Haig was sick during the filming of this and died shortly thereafter. But, I'm sure he was happy to just get that, like, one little... It's the most iconic character that he's ever played, so I'm sure he was happy to make that little cameo. The new guy that they introduced, Midnight Wolfman, he was, cool. He's not quite as iconic as Captain Spaulding, but he was a decent replacement. Good chunk of it takes place in Mexico, so you have the cool Day of the Dead makeup, which is kind of like a throwback to House of a Thousand Corpses. But while we're on the topic of throwbacks to House of a Thousand Corpses, why didn't Rob Zombie incorporate Dr. Satan? Instead of doing an exact retread of The Devil's Rejects, why didn't he go full trilogy and bring it back to the beginning? These characters escape and they want to make their way back home. Not to mention the fact that they get shot to shit at the end of The Devil's Rejects. I mean, like, blood everywhere. And they even say at the beginning of 3 from Hell that they were each shot like 20 times. But they were all alive. They were bringing them into the hospital, but their odds of survival were like, thousands to 1. And yet they all survived. So wouldn't it have been kind of cool to like kind of go back and reveal more of the mystery behind Dr. Satan or do more with that character? Like maybe it turns out in the end that they really are from hell, that they actually are like acolytes of hell. They've been there and they've come to Earth and now they're going back home. Like that would have been a cool way to end it. I know that some people are going to say that, well, yeah, but if you watch the bonus features in The Devil's Rejects, you see what happens to Dr. Satan. No, it doesn't count. It wasn't in the movie. It didn't make the cut. You cannot marathon these movies and know what happens to Dr. Satan. So it's really kind of disappointing that this was just literally a retread of the last film. Again, this movie is watchable. It actually had a few parts that I kind of chuckled at because I'm a sick bastard. It's sort of like, Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell 2. It's like when everybody heard that it was coming out, it's like, oh, Bat Out of Hell 2. Awesome. That's epic. This is history. This is rock and roll history. And then you listen to the album and it's good. It's fine. But it's Bat Out of Hell. If it had been released 2 years after Bat Out of Hell, it would have been okay, Meatloaf, you know? But the fact that it was released like what, like 15 years after the fact, everybody was like, oh my God, this has a history now. It was sort of the same thing. You know, we had sort of like a nostalgia coming in for the Firefly family. But when you really break it down, when you really examine the film and you look at it, it's difficult to judge it by its own merits because it really doesn't have any. It just borrowed shit from the last movie. It's mediocre at best, but it's the most disappointing of the three, honestly. And I wish that I could say that I liked it better than I did, but you know, I'm gonna be honest with you. So, shout out to my buddy Ezra, who I work with. He was getting rid of some VHS, and he basically gave me a stack of them, some that I really like, you know, like he gave me E.T., the extraterrestrial. This is literally one of the first VHS I ever had as a kid. I'm pretty sure that it wasn't this version, though. I think this is like a reprint, but I don't care. It's still awesome. I have to get a VCR now. We got the Blair Witch Project. I already did a video on that. Witchy Woman. Pulp Fiction, always a classic. This is like one of the just like pinnacle 90s movies. This is Tarantino. This is like the quintessential Tarantino. Apocalypse Now, I'm gonna be real with you, I haven't seen this movie in forever. I just remember it getting really, 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 really trippy. So I actually kind of would like to watch it again. I'd also like to watch Apocalypse Now, the final cut. Guy Ritchie, Snatch. I'm gonna be real, I don't really remember this movie. There were like 3 Guy Ritchie movies that came out last decade that were all within like 2 years of one another, and I swear to God, I get them all mixed up. And I saved the best for last. The Star Wars trilogy. I'm pretty sure that these are the 90s editions. I mean, I watched old VHS of Star Wars, the originals, when I was a kid. Yeah, I believe it's the 1997 versions. I watched these movies, you know, the regular editions when I was a kid. That's how old I am. But this was the first edition that I saw, like, in theaters. And seeing all the souped up effects, they were getting us really amped up for the Phantom Menace, which, you know, happened. I'm really actually super stoked about these VHS. I'm going to start putting them up on my rack over here. I want to go with a old school VHS collection. I'm going to change things up for season 5 a little bit. I'm going to put my Phantasm poster. It's way bigger than that. What Movie, Whose Line? It's like 27 by 40, I think. It's a massive thing, signed by the entire cast. It's like something off my bucket list. I'll probably be going to another, you know, convention or 2 next year, and I'll probably have more stuff to put on the walls. But yeah, anyways, just wanted to do a shout out to my buddy Ezra here. Thanks for this, man. I really appreciate it. And that's all she wrote.